In this video, it's time for the weather stripping. Stay tuned. Welcome back and/or to the channel. Today we are going to go ahead and replace our very expensive weather stripping. Just to give you an idea how much this costs on a Toyota pickup, let's just put it this way, you're working at least a full day's worth of work just for this little piece of rubber. So remember, keep your weather stripping in good shape and don't drag your feet as you enter the door, because you're about to see why we have to replace this. Now, in order to keep these things fresh and good, they do make a lubricant that you can put on your weather stripping to keep them from drying out. The biggest indicator that weather stripping is drying out is you'll get wind noise in the vehicle. Oftentimes, if vehicles are left with the door shut for long periods of time, you will get wind noise because the weather stripping dries out and is so used to being crushed that it leaves a ring inside the weather stripping. As you're going down the highway, that wind will hit the door, and when it hits the edge of the door, it will slide past the door and your weather stripping. This is designed to keep both rain, wind, and other elements out of your passenger compartment. So keeping these in good shape is important. I do have some of it. This is basically what we use to keep weather stripping in good shape. So a lot of times this is very important for Kia Souls. So remember, if you have a Kia Soul, you should probably go through, wet a rag with this stuff like a blue shop towel and just wipe your weather stripping. Don't spray it directly on it because it will make a mess out of your door jambs and it may bleed into the interior. So just put it on a rag. And we may do a video on this just so that you guys can see how I use this and basically what it's for. But it's to keep your weather stripping in good shape. Now the other reason we're going to go ahead and do the weather stripping is I have another mod that I want to put on the truck. And for what we have to do to the truck, it's important I get this mod on because once I take the truck to get done what it's got to do, I've already talked about it in a few videos, so I'm not going to really touch on it here. If you want, go back and check out the last vehicle, removing skid plates. I've given you the name of the video, just go back and check out that video. You guys will be able to see exactly what's going on here. But we're going to go after this, we're going to attack this and get this off of here. Now, the old one should come off fairly easy. There's a few screws that I got to remove, and I have to take my WeatherTech floor liners out just to be able to get access. So, once I get set up here, we're going to go after this, and I'll be right with you. Before we begin today's video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and ring that notification bell for future videos. If you're on Rumble, please hit that Rumble button, and make sure you follow or subscribe. All social media links are listed in the description down below, so go check out the one of your choice. Now let's get back into today's video. Okay, the first step when we're here is we want to remove the WeatherTechs, which are pretty simple to do. I'll get you in closer here. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is lift up on the WeatherTech in order to slide it out of this hook. Let me show you what that looks like. So you're going to lift the front of it and then press the hook down, and that slides it out of the hook. So again, I fold my WeatherTech in half as I slide it out. What this does is keeps everything inside the WeatherTech so nothing falls inside the interior. I will tap it out. Now before I put this back in, I will be putting a protectant on this. And I've done this in other videos, but I'll probably just show it quickly here because this one isn't that bad, so I'll just go ahead and lightly wipe it off. But now that we've gained access, now we want to look at things that are around the weather stripping that are holding it in place. if there's things that are holding it in, we're going to have to remove those. One of the things we have to remove is this sill trim here. This has to come out. This panel here will have to get moved. And the rest of this looks like it's all just kind of pressed in and fits up over the top. So basically all we got to do is get this out and that bottom panel out. And how we're going to remove this is to just take a Phillips screwdriver, go down inside here, and loosen up these 4 screws that hold this bottom trim on. Now it will hold the corner of this as well, so remember when you're putting that back together, you got to line that up. Okay, so we don't know what surprises we're going to find when we remove this. We may have to run a vacuum and clean this up once we get done. It all depends on how bad it is underneath there. Okay, so there is clips holding it into place. So these clips, we're going to have to pull up in order to get them out. Okay, so now that we got it up and out, yep, there's a little bit there that we're going to want to clean up. It's not super bad, but it wouldn't hurt to just go ahead and run a vacuum in there. Next, we're going to go for that panel right there in the corner. Now, one thing you want to do is make sure that there's no screws in it, because you don't want to pull on it and wreck it. What we're going to do is grab here in this corner and lift up and out. And as we can see on the back side here, it has a tab here and tabs here that hold it in. So when we go to put this back in, we got to make sure we line these up and then press it in order to get it to go into place, just like that. Okay? But this one's actually one of the more simpler ones to remove. And we do see a bunch of fuses here in a distribution block along with another box. So it's nice to know kind of what's hidden behind these boxes, because that gives you an idea if something goes wrong, where to look. Okay, we're going to move these screws because when I run the vacuum, I don't want to suck those up in there, so I'm going to put them in the cup holder. So now that we have access, what we're going to do is just go ahead and grab up on the weather stripping here, lift up, and this will break the seal, holding this into place. We're going to work our way around and remove the weather stripping. Now just make mental notes as you're pulling this down, how this is laid in there, because there is a flap here that we have to pay attention to. And on this, it looks like they actually cut the flap that's there. So we may have to cut ours if it isn't already cut. That cut I'm talking about is right through here. It's right on the floorboard part. They made a cut right there, and they followed that cut all the way along until here, where they did kind of an angled cut to go flush with the weather stripping. So that's something we may have to look at when we go to do ours. So rather than just throwing ours away, what I do is I lay mine down on the ground and I just let it sit there. Now what I'm doing with this is I'm just leaving it there for now. What I got to do is clean everything up, and then I have something else I need to do. So this video is going to have some little bit of magic in it. You guys are going to see something that basically is coming because it's in a different video. So you guys actually get a sneak peek for once ahead of the next video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean up. Once I've cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and do that mod. And then I'll be back here with you to finish this video. But you guys will get to see what it's going to look like before I actually do the video. So I'll be right back with you. All right, we're back. Now we've got everything cleaned up. We've got our mod installed. You may see it down there. I'm not going to give you any more than that. Now the plan is we're going to go ahead and opening up this thing. You can just grab it here in the middle where there's an opening away from the rubber. Just pull the plastic open. Reach down in and lift the rubber out. Try not to jerk or pull it because there may be cuts and slits into the rubber. Now, I talked about this when we just removed this one. As you can see here, there is the notch and the narrowed slit. So we do know that that part of it needs to be at the bottom. So what we're going to do is line this up and run our bottom in first. Okay, there's another notch right here. I don't know how well you can see that here on camera, but right in my shirt area, you can see a slit or a notch. Okay, that slit or notch has to go right at the striker or the... Okay, so what I did was I lined up this spot here and pressed this one in. Now, all I'm going to do is work my way up to run this into the channel. Okay, when it reaches this point up here, this is where the slit begins. So now I need to run and work this up all the way. So what I'm going to do is try to set you off to the side here. The goal is just to kind of work this up in here. Now there is glue on the inside of this weather strip. So as I press it in and I seal it, that weather strip is going to seal itself into the channel. Okay. Now, just working my way around, I'm putting light pressure on it to kind of keep it, you know, kind of trying to stretch it out a little bit. I don't want to stretch my weather stripping too much because I don't want to have issues with it not sealing later on because I pulled it too much. But I do got to get it to seal up the way I want. Now we're getting to the corner. The corner is usually your most difficult spot. So what you want to do with the corner is just start working it in and then kind of help feed it in as you work your way around. Okay. So just like that, you fed it in. Now there is a little bit of a cushion in this, and I believe this is supposed to be up in this corner. So we'll have to see. We may have to move that later on and just kind of work this around. Let's see what we get when we work the rest down in. Okay, yeah, we're a little off, so what we're going to do is just kind of work this up. So I'm going to pull it back and try to work this corner up. Okay. So now with this corner, we can go ahead and work the rest of our way down. Okay. So we've got this little rubber cushion. You want to make sure it's in the crease of the door. This is designed to keep that weather strip tight. So now we have some excess slack here that we have to move and kind of use up. So how we're going to do that is we're going to kind of work this at kind of a weird, like we pressed here, now we're going to come here and work this down. We're basically just kind of crunching this up all over the place just to use up some of that slack that we have in the weather stripping. Okay. Okay. So now we have our top edge already worked in. Like I said, there is a little tube inside here that we want inside here because this is designed to keep this corner from crushing. Now, I don't know if that's something that this one had in it. Yes, it did. Okay, so this one had that tube in it right there. Now, it is squished really flat. This edge is creased over, which caused an air noise. But with this new one in here like this, it should seal up properly without having any issues. So next, we got to work our bottom edge, and we'll have to do it the same way. That we did the other one. So we're going to want to start it in a couple of different places. Basically, we're going to want to divide our spots here, kind of ball it up a little bit, because we do want to kind of work it in. Okay. So what I'm going to do is work the edge here. I want to work this edge down in to the corner before I go any farther. What I'm doing is just making sure that I've got it all on there tight right now. Okay. So I'm going to seat this corner right now. And I'm going to pull a little bit of slack here to stuff in the corner. It's kind of my way of feeding it in. Okay. So now that we've got that seated all the way to the corner, we're going to press it all the way down. Make sure it's seated. Okay. New weather stripping is looking great at this point. Now, all that's left is this section here. Yep, you get to see a sneak peek. So what we're going to do is just kind of work our last little bit here down into place. And the goal is to kind of move around a little bit. Okay, so now we have a spot here where it's not sealed on. Now what we can do is, because we know that we tucked a bunch back here, we can go ahead and lift up, work that corner and place that corner, and then come back and rework that. So I'll show you what that looks like now. Okay. So like I said, we stuffed a bunch in there. So now we're going to go ahead and work this corner down instead. So I'm gonna work this corner down. Okay. want to make sure it's fully seated in this corner before you move on to the next part. Okay. All right, so now all that's left is to seat your center section. Okay, last thing we're going to do is do a check all the way around, make sure that it's seated. And how we do that is just to kind of work our hand all the way around the molding. Make sure that it's fully seated in the corners. Double check your corners, make sure those are nice and tight. Okay. And on the rocker panel, I'm actually hitting it kind of hard to seat that glue that's inside there. Okay. It's spongy right here in this corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up and reset that. I'm going to try to set you back far enough that you can at least see some of what I'm doing here. It's going to be the same process that I just showed, but I need to really get in here to get at that corner. Okay, now that our weather stripping's down, everything looks really good. The only thing we got left is to slide our panels back into place. So those are pretty easy to do. Like I said, the other one, so like I said, these panels are real easy to do. This one, you've got the clips. So make sure that you line up the clips. Okay, you'll feel it when it clips in, because when it does, and you're pushing on it, you'll feel it seat down. Plus you can always look inside here. There's a little tab that's down inside there. It may not show up very well. That little tab goes into that slot. Now if it goes all the way down in, then you know you got it and you're good. So next we got to put our plastic trim back on. Now this has a notch out here for this piece right here in the floor. So what you have to do is line this up. And you want to be careful kind of wiggling this down into place because there are plastic tabs here. You want to make sure that these plastic tabs are pinched in as best as you can get them, because the screw will actually spread that and lock that into the floorboard. So that's how this is held in. So now when we go to put this in, we want to make sure we're careful with those tabs. Okay, this is being a giant pain. So I'm going to try to get you at an angle that you can see this. But basically, this has two little tabs that spread apart. Those tabs have to go down inside that tiny little hole. If they don't go down in there, you can't put the screw down in to hold the rocker panel. So I'm going to set you back there for now. I'm going to work this in. Once I figure out how I get it, then I will try to explain it. But basically the tabs are broken at this point. Okay, so luckily it just popped right in. I don't ever want to take this back apart again. Seriously debating if I want to even take the one off the other side, but I know I have to based on what I just did. In order for me to do the mod that I did, I will have to take that off on the other side, so I'm going to fight it. When I go to do this, it's the only way I can, is I have to take this up. So I'm going to have to fight to get it put back down if those tabs are loose or not working properly. But now that I got this one down in here with the new door seal, this ought to work really well. So all I need to do is run my screws down to finish this up. Now, I haven't even closed this door. since the last video. Or for you guys, it's the next video. But yeah, however I do it, I'm pretty sure that the weather stripping is going to fall in here somewhere. But I haven't closed the door since that happened. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to just run my screws in. Okay, and these you don't have to go super crazy because you're just going into plastic. So all that you're doing is just kind of running the screw down in until it bottoms out, basically. Because all this trim is just kind of clipped in there. This was their way of doing it to where they didn't have to drill holes, run metal screws in, which causes rust. Great idea, but the clips should have been a little bit more durable. That's the only gripe that I have about it. Bring you in for tightening up the last two clips here. So yeah, they just run the screws down until they pretty much bottom out. Don't try to over crank them. So that one bottomed out. You can start them by hand too. You are going into plastic, so you should be able to start them by hand quite a bit. Okay. So now with that all into place, all that's left is to slide the WeatherTechs in. I promised you I would show you what I use to clean up my WeatherTechs, so let me do that quick. So I'm getting low, but there they are. I trust these to use for my WeatherTechs because they really do kind of bring it back to the factory luster. If you use the satin ones, they don't clean as well. You'll still see dirt residue. Probably because it's a lighter chemical when it comes to cleaning. But basically, all I do is kind of rub it in here. What it does is removes everything and puts that factory kind of luster shine back into it. So there we go, all cleaned up, no dirt on it. Now to slide this in, I showed during the install on the WeatherTechs, just start with the panel up, slide it down underneath the pedals, drop it down as it falls in. Now you want to line up the hook. Okay, so the hook is pretty easy to line up. The hook sits right here. All you do is line it up and then, okay, so now it's right here into the hole like so. Now all I'm going to do is just slide the WeatherTech forward and it pushes it through on the hole. So once you have that, just lightly tap it down. Now it's down and in. So all that's left is one last test. So what we're going to do is take all of our stuff out. Fingers crossed. As long as the weather strip is down, placed properly, when I close this door, it won't bounce back. It will seal up nice. Okay, it's bouncing back. That's a sign that the seal is very new, which means I have to hold it when I close this door. So it isn't one of these where I can just go like that. I actually have to push on it a little bit. Okay? But yeah, if I just try to close it like this, it will not, it stays open on the edge. So I will have to kind of get used to the new door seal. So that's something to know whenever you're doing a weather stripping, is to make sure that your door will open and close properly after it's done. Remember, it is a brand new piece of rubber, so you may have to actually hold it a little bit. You can't just go like this and walk away, because it may not grab the latch properly. As this door remains closed, that rubber is then going to conform to where it needs to be. Once it does that, this door will open and close very smoothly with no issues. But you do have to put a little bit of oomph into it when you go to close the door, because you can't, if you lazily do it, it'll remain open. I'm getting my finger in here. But just a little bit of pressure when I close it, and it just go ahead and closes. So what I'll do is I'll probably just get used to it the next couple of times, just making sure I actually push it closed. And it works. But this is something to know when you do your weather stripping on your vehicles. You got to remember, it isn't going to close like it did when it was new. Now with the old weather strip, when you close the door, it was so loose that it just kind of folded in on itself. And you could tell that the door was loose when you went down the highway. You could kind of hear it a little bit. There was a lot of wind noise. With this, there isn't going to be any wind noise, because this is actually sealed up so tight that it's not going to have that wind noise. Now the nice thing is because it's sealed up so nice, we're not going to have any issues with elements such as water. If you go through a car wash, a lot of times you're going to get water that will run down through here, get down inside and leak on you when those weather strips are bad. So this is how you change the weather strip in your vehicle. I'd like to say thank you for watching. Please hit that like button, hit that rumble button, smash that subscribe button. Check out any of the socials listed in the description down below, and I'll see you on the next one.